recording for that one, let me know. See if that has started. Now, I will say everything that we went over for the planner for receiving, we also do the exact same thing in shipping. So that is all available to you, and it looks exactly the same. But you can plan your shipments, your future shipments going out. So you can take and hold all of that over. Now, the shipping Andon, we can use the similar Andon screen that we saw with the receiving to also show us for shipping. But there's a secondary piece of Andon for shipping that we can also use. So I'm going to just exit out of the planner here. So whenever we have our bays allocated, um, on the jump to bay screen, it shows us, okay, so for bay 1, here's my schedule date and all that, and asking me what Andon slot do I want to drop that into. There is a web page report that we have, which can be
Aaron,
brought up. Yes.
we use this option.
Yes. Okay. So you're using, okay. So you don't need to see this.
Now for the moment because we are using.
Oh,
We
perfect.
had yes, we set out the slot and we can to start. Oh, in this, for example, you had the day and the hours to suppose the trailer is arrived. It's
Mhm.
possible to add the time when the trailer arrived, the real time. For
Um,
example, because you in this moment you have 2 hours with 38 minutes.
yes.
But for example, the trailer arrived 4 p.m. is not in this time. It's possible to change.
It is. Um, because we have sort of a time that it's scheduled to ship.
Hmm.
We can send when the trailer arrived. I I have to review how exactly we set that. I thought it was a piece of the scanning that
Hmm.
once you start scanning the first container to the
Okay.
bay, that's when it assumes that the truck has arrived. But I'm sure
Oh,
in your case, you stage shipments prior to that,
okay.
and so
Yes,
that
because
doesn't really say when it arrives. Yeah,
in this moment is no set out maybe the time
it's
when
not
where start the scan because
okay.
always
Yeah,
maintain the hour.
okay. What I can do, I mean, there's a couple options that we can do, because we can turn on within shipping that allows you to sort of scan everything to a bay, but it puts it in a stage state so that it says, yes, everything is here, but I'm not actually loading it to the trailer yet. And then when I'm doing my scanning, instead of scanning it to the bay, I would actually say truck load scan. So I could turn on that option, so that checkbox. And now I scan everything again as is going into the truck. You may or may not want to do that just because it takes time, because you end up scanning everything twice, once to stage it and then once to actually load it onto the truck. We can capture when you start doing your truck loading scan as the arrive time, or if it would be better for you, I can put a button, either on this screen, or I could find a logical place to put a button that you could just, say for bay 1, and you'd click your button and say, "The truck has arrived." And so now I have my arrival time, uh, set in there.
Okay.
Or a third option we could do is we have shipping also integrated into our driver program, where when a driver arrives and puts in their name and what uh, they're coming to pick up, then we can capture that as a because it was a planned item, a planned shipment going out, and say, okay, this particular person arrived now, they're going to this bay, so we can use that as a stamp of when they have arrived. So there's three options. I'll send you an email with those options so that you can kind of think through and talk through with whoever you need to on which you think would be best for you.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, that's good that you're using that already. I knew I had set that up for you, but I didn't know if that was being used. So it's good that we have that available to see. Um,
Cass, can I interrupt for a second?
yes.
There was a request. I think it was from, I don't know who it was from, but they wanted to see a secondary Andon where, say, if you were simultaneously loading 3 bays, you would be able to see what containers had been loaded onto what bay, and do sort of like the red green that you do sometimes when you have a scheduled shipment, and then you're scanning those containers to the trailer. I guess I'd say much like what you presently do in shipping, but sort of make that an Andon board that the plants can use.
So would that be like, so bay 1 would have its own screen? So we would only, so would that be like over bay 1, or would you want to see all the slots? Because once I start showing individual containers scanned, I'm going to run out of room on this slot very quickly.
Yeah, I think they wanted like to choose 2 or 3 bays or n number of bays, with a maximum of, we'll say 3, to display what the shipper was actually seeing as they scanned containers into the trailer.
Okay.
And they also, which certainly can be done, but then they said they wanted to be able to see any of the error messages while what occurred while on the scanning occurred, and the conversation ended. It could have been with Oscar before he left Ecofimix, but so Hank, since you're here, I wanted just to ask you, was there a request to show an Andon board of, containers slash parts being loaded into the trailer? I think that's a MAFECT requirement, but I don't know.
Let me review with the users and I send the comments about this.
Okay.
Thank you.
When you're scanning containers to a truck, do you use the tablet version where you could bring the scan button up here and scan it in there? Or are you still using a wireless terminal, the old brick on a stick scanner?
We use both.
Use both. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Because when you're using the tablet version,
Mhm.
you wouldn't really need an Andon board, because you're able to see that right as you're scanning. As you're scanning here, it's keeping account of what's on there. And you also have this screen, whether it's your scanned containers list or whether it's your summary of what's being loaded onto the trailer. You
Yes.
have that visible. But if you're using a wireless terminal, then
Only
that's
say
when
the name,
yeah,
the number of the containers, right?
correct. Yep. Yeah. The
Yes.
number of containers is in the upper right here. Yep. But yeah, on the wireless terminal, the only thing you have is a count of containers. You don't have any other visual like that.
Mhm.
I think
So,
the conversation was around a large screen TV showing the bays that were being loaded. So I think it actually was more like, I want to see something in shipping, just to display the shipping activity that's occurring at that instant. So it was the individual displays on the tablet, of course, we believe is great, but from the management side of wanting to see where every shipper, how it was proceeding, they would need to see sort of like that cut up into slots.
yep. Yep. That makes sense. Well, yeah, Hanks, if you can do some investigating and see if that is something that is still needed and wanted there, then we
Yes, of
can
course.
look at doing that.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's all I had for our demo here. Do you have any other questions or anything that you'd like me to go over?